The alarm pierced through the darkness at exactly 4:07 a.m., jolting Jake from a restless sleep. He had been a firefighter for 12 years, and the sound still sent adrenaline coursing through his veins. As he slid down the pole and grabbed his gear, the dispatcher's voice crackled with urgency. Residential fire, multiple occupants trapped, children reported inside. The truck roared to life as his team assembled in seconds, their faces grim in the dim station lights. Jake checked his oxygen tank one more time, a ritual he never skipped. The streets were empty as they raced through the pre-dawn darkness, sirens wailing. He had no idea this call would be different from all the others. The house was already engulfed when they arrived, flames shooting from the second-floor windows like angry orange tongues. Neighbors stood in their bathrobes on the lawn, pointing frantically and shouting about the family inside. Jake's captain quickly assessed the situation and began barking orders, dividing the team between fire suppression and rescue operations. Without hesitation, Jake and his partner Marcus pushed through the front door into a wall of heat and smoke. The structure groaned ominously above them as they crawled through the living room, visibility near zero. Jake's thermal camera showed heat signatures upstairs, people, possibly children. Time was running out, and every second counted in this deadly race. They found the mother first, collapsed in the hallway outside what appeared to be a bedroom. Marcus immediately began dragging her toward the stairs, while Jake pushed forward into the children's room. Through the thick smoke, he could make out two small beds and heard the faint sound of coughing. He found a girl, maybe 7 years old, curled under a blanket near the window, her brother beside her, younger and unconscious. Jake wrapped them both in his arms, their small bodies frighteningly light and fragile. The ceiling above began to crack and splinter, raining embers down on them. He had carried people before, but the weight of these two lives felt different, heavier somehow. As he stumbled back through the inferno, Jake whispered promises he hoped he could keep. Outside, paramedics worked frantically on all three victims while Jake collapsed on the curb, his lungs burning despite his mask. The girl, Emma, regained consciousness first, her eyes wild with fear as she screamed for her brother. Jake crawled over to hold her hand, his voice hoarse as he assured her that little Daniel was getting help. The medical team worked on the boy for what felt like hours but was only minutes, performing CPR with mechanical precision. Jake watched, helpless, as they loaded Daniel into the ambulance, his tiny chest still not rising on its own. The mother was stable, Emma would recover fully, but Daniel's fate hung in the balance. As the ambulance doors closed, Jake felt something crack inside him that had nothing to do with the fire. That moment, watching those red lights disappear into the dawn, would haunt him for weeks to come. 3 days later, Jake stood in a hospital room decorated with balloons and children's drawings, watching Daniel breathe on his own for the first time. The boy had made it, against odds that even the doctors called miraculous. Emma ran to hug Jake the moment she saw him, calling him her hero, but he didn't feel heroic. He felt humbled, grateful, and profoundly changed by the fragility of the lives he'd held in his arms that night. The mother, Sarah, thanked him through tears, but words seemed inadequate for what had passed between them in that burning house. Jake realized that in saving this family, something in him had been saved too, a renewed sense of purpose that had been slowly dimming after years of routine calls. As he left the hospital that afternoon, the weight he'd carried since that 4 a.m. call finally began to lift. He would never forget the fear in Emma's eyes or the stillness of Daniel's small body, but now those memories carried hope instead of just horror. Jake returned to the station that evening to find his crew waiting with knowing looks and silent nods of understanding. They had all been there, in those moments when a call transcends duty and becomes personal, when you carry someone's entire world in your arms. Captain Morrison pulled him aside and simply said, "You did good, kid," but they both knew it was more than that. Jake had been questioning his career lately, wondering if he still had it in him after 12 years of trauma and loss. That 4 a.m. call had answered his question in the most profound way possible, showing him that even after all this time, he could still make a difference. He looked at the younger firefighters around him with fresh eyes, seeing himself in their eager faces. As he hung up his gear that night, Jake made a silent promise to Daniel, Emma, and Sarah, and to himself, that he would keep showing up, keep running into the fire, keep being the person who answered the call at 4 a.m. Because now he knew with absolute certainty, this was exactly where he belonged.